Thank you. It's great to be here. Thank you so much, Ali, for the opportunity to talk, and thank you all for making the time to come today. I'm really excited to tell you about PASEA and have a discussion together. So, as Ali said, I'm Linda Strubbe. I'm the co-founder and I'm the co-director of PASEA, the Pan-African School for Emerging Astronomers. I use the pronouns she and her. And I wanted to start with a land acknowledgement, actually. So I am usually based in Vancouver, Canada, which is the unceded ancestral and traditional territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. And right now I'm actually in New York visiting my dad. So I'd like to respectfully acknowledge that I'm speaking to you today from the ancestral, traditional, and contemporary lands of the Wappinger, Schaghticoke, and Munsee Lenape peoples. And if you would like to learn more about the land that you're on, nativeland.ca is a really great resource. So, thank you for acknowledging the land with me today. So now you know where I am. Let me tell you just a little bit more about who I am to provide a bit of context. So my background is in theoretical astrophysics. My PhD and my first postdoc were studying the process of black holes getting ripped apart by massive, stars getting ripped apart by massive black holes. And along the way, I got more and more interested in education. And then in 2015, I decided to move my career from theoretical astrophysics to physics and astronomy education specialist, researcher, and consultant. So I was a postdoc at the University of British Columbia and at the American Association of Physics Teachers. And then the last few years, I've had my own business, Strubbe Educational Consulting, based in Vancouver in Canada, as I said, and I love doing projects around the world. So I've been doing projects supporting teaching on 5 continents so far. So that's me. Now let me introduce you to my other co-directors of PASEA. So there's Dr. Bonaventure Okere, who's the director of the Center for Basic Space Science in Nsukka, Nigeria, and director of the West African Office of Astronomy for Development Regional Node. There's me, there's Dr. Jialai Zhang, who is at the Arc Center of Excellence for Gravitational Wave Discovery in Australia, and Professor James Chibueze from Nigeria, who is a professor at NISA, the University of South Africa. So PASEA is an innovative short course in astronomy for African university students and school teachers. It's been held 5 times so far, starting in 2013. So we started out West African focused, and our first school was in Abuja, Nigeria in 2013. Then we held our next school in Nsukka, Nigeria, then in Accra, Ghana. Then we went back to Abuja, Nigeria in 2019. And after that, we decided to become Pan-African, thanks to the interest that we were getting from people around the continent. So in 2022, we held our first school in Southern Africa and Livingstone, Zambia, which is at Victoria Falls. It was an amazing experience. And our next school is going to be in North Africa at Monastir, Tunisia, either at the end of this year or in early next year. And the way our program works, we have a long-term team, as I'll tell you more about, but for each school, we move to a new host site. So that's how we're hopping around, but we have a long-term group of people who are involved in each of the schools. And here's the URL and Twitter, Instagram handles, and Facebook. So if you want to follow us, we would love that. So the vision of PASEA is threefold. We aim to contribute to building a critical mass of astronomers across Africa, to contribute to building community among African scientists, and to share ideas about teaching and learning between Africa and abroad. Our school is taught by a global team of instructors. You've already met our 4 co-directors, and then we have this awesome group of people below from lots of different places who have been instructors at PASEA at 1 or more schools. Some are active, some are not on the team anymore. I want to highlight 5 people in particular. These are alumni who started out as students in PASEA and then came back and joined the team as instructors. So that's Adaeze Ibik, Margaret Ikape, Sarah Batsi Masters, Sheikh Bop, and Godson Abbey. So we have a really great group, and our alumni is an especially important part of that. So far, we have almost 300 alumni from 20 countries around the African continent, and a growing fraction of them are women. So let me tell you about the structure of PASEA. It's 2 weeks long. So the first week is a set of teaching workshops for our instructors. So anybody who's going to be an instructor at that PASEA school will be there. And we exchange ideas about teaching and learning across cultural contexts. We co-design interactive lessons together. We do workshops to develop inquiry facilitation skills. And in some schools, we do outreach to local schools and talks at local university. This all prepares our instructors to teach the second week, which for students. So the students arrive for week 2, and they're split into 2 streams. So we have one stream for undergraduates and teachers, and one for postgraduates. And I'll tell you a little bit about both of those in a moment. So 4 aspects that I'm gonna highlight about how PASEA works are our innovative curriculum, our impact on alumni, our international multicultural long-term collaboration, and then talk about the challenge of sustainable funding, as Ali has alluded to in the notes document. So starting with the innovative curriculum, our curriculum is based on science education research on effective and inclusive teaching. And in the undergraduate stream, our primary goals are for students to learn a menu of exciting and fundamental concepts in astronomy, to practice and develop scientific thinking and collaborative skills applied to astronomy, and feel inspired and supported to continue learning about astronomy. So this is informal science engagement, in the sense that our students are not leaving with a degree or even necessarily a super strong understanding of any of the concepts, but more enough understanding to kind of boost their own learning and motivation to keep learning in astronomy after this school is over. To work towards these goals, we have a variety of activities at each PASEA school. So the sort of key focus of the undergraduate stream is an inquiry lab, which I'll tell you more about in a second. So that's a 2-day-long student-led astronomy investigation done in teams. We hold interactive lessons on topics in astronomy from stars, exoplanets, galaxies, cosmology, radio astronomy, which is particularly important in Africa because that's a growing area, and cultural astronomy. We have students design their own outreach activity to bring back to their home community. We have discussions about gender and science, and we have sessions about careers that use astronomy and how to apply to graduate school. Tell you just a little bit more about inquiry-based teaching. So for us, that means students learning science in ways that mirror authentic scientific research practices. So we have our students do an inquiry-based activity that we designed that's about distances in the universe. And we chose that topic because measuring the distances to objects in the universe kind of underlies almost everything that we know about anything beyond our planet. And also it connects to everyday physics phenomena, parallax, and the inverse square law for light. So we start by having students do a hands-on challenge. We set up a hanging planet in a field. Here's an example of that with a rainbow in Nigeria. And we set them up behind like a sidewalk, and we say, your challenge is to measure the distance to that planet without going there. And we give them some materials, but we don't tell them how to do it. We just have them work together in a team to figure out a way to make that measurement. Then we hang up astronomical images around the room and prompt students to ask their own questions about those. And we help guide them to select questions that are related to distance, which many of them are. We have students choose their own questions to study in a team. Then they plan and carry out a distance measurement using data that we give them when they're ready for it and ask for the right thing. And then we have students discuss their results and reflect on their learning. So here is an awesome photo of Mary Queen Jane and Esther in 2019, who figured out the distance to the moon using a lunar occultation of Regulus. And I love their poster that they made with a great diagram and their equations. And I also love their smiles and their excitement. When students figure out their distance in the inquiry activity, it is a source of joy and excitement around the room. One of our students wrote, "PASEA made me realize that I can think and find answers to questions on my own without external help. I can now say I can think like a scientist." And another student wrote, "I really love the way we were allowed to discover parallax ourselves. I wish learning in school was as interactive as that." So if you would like to learn more about our inquiry lab sequence, we wrote an article for the journal Course Source that was published last year. It talks about the inquiry activity at PASEA and also the adaptation that I did with a graduate student at the University of British Columbia so this can also be taught in a formal university setting. And we have all the materials that you need to teach this inquiry activity if you'd like. So feel free to check that out. Just a brief mention about the postgraduate stream. The primary goal there is to provide students with an opportunity to engage with real astronomical data and develop their analysis skills. And in 2022, the activity lineup was a Python and machine learning workshop and a mini research project using radio astronomy data. We also have a lunch for all the women participants and then a separate lunch for the men participants. And there's a focus on women talking about the challenges that they face as women in science and the strategies for overcoming it. And then we come together and have an all-gender discussion about gender in science. So that is our innovative curriculum. Next, I want to tell you about our impact on alumni so far. So in 2020, we decided to do a survey of our alumni and found that almost all of our alumni are engaged in STEM. 90% of our participants say that PASEA was very influential for their choice of career and studies. About half of our alumni are studying STEM, with over 20 in graduate school and postdocs in France, Canada, South Africa, and other countries. About a third are teaching STEM, and 3/4 of them say that PASEA influences how they teach. And to look to how the impact of PASEA multiplies their students' number in the thousands and will keep growing. And some of our alumni also create their own outreach initiatives like astronomy clubs, which is really exciting. And then another 14% of our alumni work in STEM industry. So far now through our instructor workshops, more than probably 25 by now, instructors have received training in inquiry-based teaching, and then many of them bring that back home to their regular teaching at their home institute after PASEA. So for example, Finbar Odo transformed his physics lab course in Nigeria and presented at the American Association of Physics Teachers Conference in 2019. And then just a really great other quote from Mary Queen. PASEA said that, Mary Queen said that PASEA opens the mind to bigger pictures of what the universe is all about. At PASEA, there was a sense of togetherness, regardless of our different backgrounds. So we are really excited about the impact on alumni that we've seen so far. If we had time and funding for it, there's a lot more evaluation that we would love to do of PASEA, but the amount that we've been able to do has very good indications. Next, I would love to tell you about our international long-term collaboration, which was one of the focuses in the abstract. So you've already met PASEA's co-directors, and here is a group shot of the instructor team at Victoria Falls in Zambia in 2022. And so we have an international team. Somewhere between 2/3 and 3/4, depending on when, are from Africa. Nigeria, Ghana, Senegal, Gabon, and Zambia at the moment, and 1/4 of the team is from outside. So I live in Canada, we have colleagues in Australia, and half of our team are women, which is a high overrepresentation among astronomers, among scientists, and particularly among African astronomers. Our team members participate for multiple years, and I think it's really valuable that our co-directors are multicultural. So half of our co-directors are from Africa and half from outside, which helps this to be a true partnership. And it means that our overall goals are driven by African scientists and not by foreigners. So this isn't a bunch of foreigners coming in and saying, these are the things that you need to do, but rather African scientists are saying, these are the things we want to do. And then people like me from outside supporting towards that. I think it's really valuable, as I said, that our PASEA alumni are returning as instructors. So 5 have joined our team so far. it's great as a pathway for participants to stay involved with PASEA, so kind of keep the community going. Our alumni, of course, understand our students' needs and experiences firsthand, which helps them to design really perfectly tailored activities for our students. And our alumni are super inspiring to our students, showing what our alumni can do. I think a really key part of our multicultural collaboration is our collaborative teaching that we do at PASEA. So um, as I mentioned, in our first week, we have a bunch of instructor workshops, and there our instructors discuss our teaching backgrounds and what makes for good teaching in our different contexts, and then get together in pairs to collaborate in designing interactive lessons. So we pair everybody up, bringing together people from different places, and then all of our interactive lessons are pair taught by 2 or 3 instructors. This is really valuable because it facilitates the exchange of teaching ideas across different contexts. And as we saw with Finbar, it can help new instructors to learn new interactive ways of teaching that they then bring home to their home teaching as well. So how we build and maintain our multicultural collaboration, one of the ways is collaborative teaching. Another is in the lead up to schools, we have regular Zoom meetings. And then I think another top one is kind of connecting to each other as people. So as we've been working together over years, we get to know each other more and more. At the beginning of all our Zoom calls, we go around and do life check-ins for everyone. When we're in person for a school, we definitely have fun hangout time together and phone catch-ups. And I've developed awesome friendships with a number of people on the team, and I know others have as well. So I think that's a really important part of our collaboration. A need and a challenge that continues is flexibility and clarity about how we work. Just as any 2 individuals might work differently, there's also maybe sort of different cultural paradigms about working, like timescales of when things need to be done, ways of discussing topics, how firm people are when they say they're going to do X, Y, Z, and showing respect. Hierarchy is often more important in African cultures where we're working than it is in my experience in Canada and in the US. And then another challenge is the long periods that we have between schools, so 2 and sometimes even 3 years, just to keep the momentum going. A few other sort of fuzzy pieces about multicultural collaboration that I think are important are viewing the project as a true partnership. So it's not just one group, for example, people from Canada saying we're going to go and help another group. And it's also not transactional either, like we'll help you with this if you help us with that. It's really a partnership of working together. It's really key that we value each other's expertise. So again, it's not one group coming in and saying we have all the answers and we're going to teach you the important things. We all have really important expertise to share with each other. And that includes ways of teaching, knowledge of our own contexts and our own goals, and then coming with an attitude of curiosity and friendship. So for me personally, making friends and learning have always been my main drivers for doing this work. Related to that is how have we managed to continue for a whole decade? Well, you can see I love PASEA. Many of us love PASEA and feel it's really meaningful. Our alumni in particular feel that way as well. So we have long-term participation from team members in a largish team, which means it's okay for some people to come and go and be part of the project for just a year or 2, while other people are in the team for longer. And we continue bringing in new instructors. So alumni, astronomers at each host institute, and people often reach out to us to join. And then we have a way to onboard new instructors. So it's fine for us to bring in new people. They'll learn some of the ways that we teach and have an opportunity to collaborate with other people on the team. So they become part of the instructor team. And then I think my own career decisions have played a role as well. So I choose to work as an educational consultant in part so that I have the flexibility to continue working on PASEA. And I know not everyone can do that, but that's part of what I've chosen to do. So the last aspect I want to talk about is sustainable funding and the beautiful challenge that that is. So the physical cost of holding PASEA, for example, travel, accommodation, venue, food, are about $60,000 per school. And to date, PASEA has been supported by astronomy departments in Canada, international observatories, professional societies, and crowdfunding. Um, at each PASEA school has been funded by a different patchwork of organizations. None of them has provided multi-year funding. So here's a variety of organizations that have funded us so far: the University of Toronto, Dunlap Institute, the University of British Columbia, the Square Kilometre Array, the African Astronomical Society, AstroPi Project. Those are some of the big ones that have helped. Um, But so between schools, we can or should spend quite a lot of time raising funds. And it brings up some interpersonal challenges too, like whose responsibility is it to raise funds, the host institution or the team? The host has detailed knowledge of the costs, but it's a difficult responsibility, especially since the host doesn't have detailed knowledge of PASEA because they're new to us. But it's a difficult responsibility for the team to do it as well. Our team is all scientists. Nobody is an expert in fundraising. And then we have different styles of working sometimes. So timelines, ways of sharing information about funding, and funding, especially in Africa, often arrives at the last minute or even later. And it can be challenging. We've had some misunderstandings about some of these things. I have been encouraged to look to US-based foundations, and in the past, it's been kind of discouraging that many don't support projects outside the US, but recently people have been encouraging me to look again. So that's something I'm going to be working on. And US-based foundations, because there's a lot more wealth in the US for foundations than in Africa, as I'm sure you're aware. And then the last challenge I want to mention about funding is that our funders so far have only covered our physical costs and not personnel time. All of us on the team are expected to and do volunteer our time, but we only have so much of that we can do. And we could do so much more for the project if we had funded time to develop new activities, hold events between schools, maybe hold schools more often, etc. So that's something I would, well, all of this are things that I would love to hear your advice on, but that's something in particular that I think is important for our project and probably for many of yours as well. So to just say a few things in closing and wrapping up, we wrote an article in the journal Nature Astronomy in 2021. So feel free to check that out to learn more about PASEA. And our future plans for PASEA, as I mentioned, our next school is going to be held in Tunisia. And then I, with Strubbe Educational Consulting, in partnership with PASEA, am working on a program on innovative astronomy teaching for university lecturers and a mentorship program for students who are interested in astronomy grad school. But we need funding for all of these to become realities. So that's a challenge. And then stepping away from PASEA for just a minute, I wanted to mention something else that I do as an educational consultant. So I do external evaluation, and I know many of you might be interested in external evaluation for your informal physics or astronomy education project. So if that's something that you're interested in, I would love to help. I'd love to chat with you. You can send me an email and check out my website. It'd be really an awesome honor to work with you. So feel free to reach out. And so to close, here we all are in Accra, Ghana in 2017. I've got the website and our Twitter and Instagram handle again. And thank you so much for your attention, and I'm looking forward to the discussion.